For those of you just tuning in, I'm Bob with the Licher Real Estate Group. We have Kelly Swindell and Daniel Solomon also here on the team. And together we are the Wild Stallions. Just kidding. Just kidding. Totally there. Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to bring in Casey Neer here. She's going to really educate us today with land title about the 1031 exchange. And this is her. So
good morning.
Good morning. Let's jump right in. If it's okay, Casey, I'd like to jump right in and ask you a few questions and really learn from you about the 1031 and what you can teach us about that tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I guess let's start right away. I mean, what is a 1031 exchange?
So a 1031 exchange is a program that's recognized by the IRS. It allows real estate investors to defer capital gains taxes that would normally be associated with the sale of an investment property, as long as they reinvest in another like-kind investment property.
Awesome. So it seems like a great investment tool a lot of people are using that you are helping here in the metro area, and we've had our fair share of those happen too. And so just at a basic level, I guess this is a two-part question, but why would I use someone, if I were an investor, if I had multiple properties, why would I execute a 1031? And then maybe a sub question to that would be, you mentioned like and kind. So maybe let's start there and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the like kind is actually really broad. A lot of investors think that if they sell for example, a single family residential home, that they have to then invest in another single family residential home. However, any property that's considered real property in the state it's being purchased qualifies. So you could go from residential home to commercial space, an office building, an apartment, a condo, even vacant land qualifies.
Wow, that's incredible. And I bet a lot of our viewers are excited to hear that too, So essentially you can sell like a shopping mall and go buy, as long as you're within state, and go buy like a farm or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can actually buy in all of the 50 states across the United States. So it doesn't have to be in the same state you sell.
Oh, that's incredible. See, I didn't know that. That's great to know. We do have a lot.
Of course, there could be, different tax implications in other states. So they would absolutely, speak to a CPA about that. But as long as it's within the United States, it qualifies.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Very useful tool. So that's kind of the basic level. How long, maybe we can dig into just a little bit of the details on, kind of walk us through the process on what that would look like, how long it takes, and if there are any kind of strict rules on executing a 1031 exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. So the full term of a 1031 exchange is 180 days. And so that clock starts the day of closing on the property being sold. Now, most exchanges don't go to the full 180 days, especially with as hot as the real estate market is right now. But essentially, you have 45 days from the date that you closed on the relinquished property to identify the new property to your qualified intermediary. That's a hard set date. So once you pass that, the IRS doesn't allow for any extensions or substitutions. Now, with that being said, right now, because of COVID, the IRS is allowing for extensions on any 45 and 180-day deadlines that fall between April 1st and July 14th. So those are all being extended out to July 15th.
Well, that's good.
We're getting longer than 45 days.
Well, that's killer.
Yeah, and then, after your 45 days, you have, 135 days left over to actually close on the property. Like I said, with everything being so hot right now, usually within 45 days of the client going under contract on their replacement, it's closed. So
thanks for mentioning that. We had Daniel and I were here on the team, Daniel Solomon. He may want to actually tune into that, because that's a question that that came up. Daniel, if you wanted to kind of tune us as far as how it was, you remember we had a great conversation earlier and this came up.
Yeah, and actually, Casey, I guess my natural follow-up question would be a what if question. All right, so even in today's circumstances, or let's just say if we're beyond the COVID part where the extension has been granted, what if someone gets past the 45 days and is not able to identify a property, or gets to a point 180 days and they haven't closed on property B, which, you know, things happen and that those delays could happen. What's the what if scenario there?
Yeah, so with the 45 days, if the client's unable to identify something, then unfortunately at that time it's just a failed exchange. And the following business day, we would return their funds to them, and then they would just be subject to those normal capital gains taxes. So it's the same with the 180 days. If they've identified properties, but for some reason they can't close on them within that time frame, following business day, funds are released and it's a failed exchange.
Okay. So not too bad. I mean, worst case, they just pay the gains.
Right. There's no additional penalty issued by the IRS for having, you know, a failed exchange.
Okay. Okay. I had another question. I just thought of this. It's something that I've never helped with, but I've heard a little bit. And anyone watching this, we have, I mean, check in the link later. We'll send this video back out. Casey has a great handbook about executing. If you want more information, obviously feel free to call Land Title and Casey. But we'll send out we have a whole pamphlet that talks about everything, and it goes pretty deep about the 1031 exchange. But the reverse 1031 exchange, that's come up a few times. Can you kind of just give us a brief, just a quick description on a reverse 1031? Because I think that's an interesting tool that a lot of people would want to use. And, you know, you find a great property, then what?
A reverse exchange would be more, say you have a client who they're really not looking for a new property, but they find their dream property, right? And because the market's so hot, they have to jump on it right away. So maybe they don't have their current investment property on the market or under contract, but they really want to get this property. So they would find a qualified intermediary who can handle reverses. They would enter into an exchange agreement with that QI.
Sorry to interrupt. Who would be the intermediary?
So like me, I'm a qualified intermediary.
Hey, Land Title. So you call Land Title and talk to
unfortunately, not for reverses. Right. So unfortunately, we don't handle those. There's just a lot more legalities and complexity to them. But if you have clients needing to do one, we do work with a really great company that handles more of those complex and reverse exchanges that we can absolutely hook your client up with.
So either way, call Casey at Land Title. She'll handle your 1031 needs.
Exactly. I'll get you where you need to go.
So it sounds like it's a little bit more risky, or it's just something that at this time you're not wanting to.
Yeah. And they are a little bit harder, you know, because obviously you're going to buy that replacement property first, but you're still on the hook for your old one. So with that, the qualified intermediary actually has to set up an LLC to hold title, you know, for the new property. And you still have those same 45 and 180 day deadlines. It's just you have 45 days to identify your current property you're going to sell, and then 180 days to actually sell it, so that you can kind of trade title with your new one.
Okay.
Yeah, they are possible. And, you know, they are really great for those people that just kind of stumble upon that dream investment property.
Well, and Kelly, I know we were talking about it earlier in the day, and Kelly Swindell here on the team, she just took a great 1031 exchange class through Land Title, and I know she probably has a few things to talk to you about, or maybe a few questions from the class. Kelly, take it away if you had a question or two you wanted to tune into.
Hey, Casey, thank you. Yeah, I did take that 1031 exchange course, CE credit course. It was very interesting and very, very broad. And I know there's all kinds of legal and all other things to consider. One of the things that I found really interesting is from a buyer's standpoint, when I work with my buyers, when you have that 45 days to identify a replacement property, the strategy for them is to find actually 3 properties. And the first property is the dream property. This is the one I have to have. I love this. Second property is I can settle for this property if my dream property doesn't come through. And the third property is I don't want to pay taxes. That's the one I have to buy.
Right.
So I thought that was a really interesting. So when you go to identify, you actually do a lot more shopping than, and to pick the one, you actually end up picking 3.
Yeah, that's a really good, thing to do, because, anything can happen. So maybe, identification number 1 is their dream one, but the seller takes it off the market or somebody swoops in and gets it. So you want to have those backups because like I said earlier, the 45 days, once it's gone, it's gone. You can't,
Right.
make any revisions. So unless you're, I want either this property or I'm going to pay taxes, you definitely want to have those backups.
Right. Thank you.
Of course.
That's a great thought, Kelly. Thanks for tuning into that. It's great to hear about that. And
so a follow-up question to that, do you actually identify all 3 properties kind of at once, so that they're all kind of, so to speak, in the queue? Or do you just kind of what's the logistics?
Yeah, so you don't have to identify everything at the same time. If you find one week and you want to identify that one, you can, and then maybe in 2 weeks you find 2 more, you can send in an additional identification form. Just as long as everything's identified within those 45 days, it can happen, whenever you want.
Okay, so silly question, is there a limit to how many you can identify?
That's a great question, actually. So there is. So the IRS says you can identify up to 3 of any value. But if you identify 4 or more, there's what they call the 200% rule. So that means you have to take all of the properties identified, including your first 3, and they cannot exceed 200% or double the sales price of the property you sold.
Okay.
Now, if you do that and you turn it in as a valid identification, then the 95% rule comes into play, where the IRS says now you are required to buy 95% of the value of everything you've identified.
Wow.
So it's very important, not to do that unless, you have a ton of money and that's your plan.
Right.
I will tell you at Land Title, when our clients send in their identifications, if we see there's more than 3, we always, look at the settlement sheet from the one they sold and do the math. And then if we see that it's over that 200%, we absolutely reach out to them to let them know and then help them to revise or revoke those identifications.
well, thanks for keeping our people safe.
Of course.
And that again, that's definitely why it's necessary to have an experienced qualified intermediary. There are so many intricacies in the formulas and the laws and how a 1031 exchange can be carried out. As an agent, it's beyond me to be able to remember all that stuff. So you definitely need somebody like Land Title.
Yeah, and with things changing, we're always up to date. And so, we don't expect our agents or sales reps or even our clients to know the ins and outs. It is a very complex, program. So that's what we're here for.
So a question there is, someone may be thinking, okay, wow, it sounds like I'm getting a tremendous service here and a lot of kind of full service, almost customer service in a way. Someone might be saying, well, what extra is this going to cost me? Are there extra costs in something like this?
So we do charge an exchange fee. It is a flat fee. A lot of qualified intermediaries will charge on the sales side as well as the purchase side. At Land Title, we just charge one fee that covers both. Now, if there's multiple properties being sold or multiple properties being purchased, there are additional fees, but they're not significant at all. And we don't have those extra fees like wire transfer fees. We don't charge to hold it in an interest-bearing account, anything like that. It's just a flat fee.
Wonderful. That's good. So Casey or Andrea, before we head out and close this, I know we open it up for some Q&A. We have a few visitors on the call. Just wanted to make sure they didn't have any questions. Hold on, I'm trying to see who's here. Can you hold that back up?
Do you like my sign?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I worked on this all morning.
Thank you, Andrea.
There's
You
my
did a great job,
contribution.
Andrea.
We love you guys. You guys are
We
not
love-
real estate.
We do love you guys.
We love
We
you.
are honored to work with you.
You've kept a lot of our clients so happy and really have served at the high level that we appreciate over these years. And hopefully, I don't think we had any remaining questions here. But yeah, in closing, I'd like to.
Oh, Bob, I got one other one.
What's that?
I got one other question for Casey.
One more
here.
question from Daniel.
All right, Casey, this is like one of those great, like, because we get them all the times as real estate agents. So
Yeah.
here's a crystal ball question for you. Ready?
I
How
am.
do you, given what's going on, where do you see you're one person? Give us your prediction of 1031 exchanges over the next 9 to 12 months. Do you think they're going to be more common, less common, about the same? What's your guess?
You know, they did slow down for, for the first part of April. But then once the IRS released the extension on the deadlines, they picked right back up. So, the market's still going really well. It's really strong still. So yeah, we're still going. And I think as things progress and maybe we're able to, get out of grounding from our homes, more people will be selling and more people will be buying. So I don't have any concerns about the 1031 market.
I think that's a great question, Daniel. Thanks for asking that. It's fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our clients or even people are getting ready to buy a house or sell a house. I really don't think they know how in tune title companies are with their, with real estate brokers or agents, and that we're seeing the showing activity on our listings. We're kind of on the pulse of the market. You guys get the files right away when something, obviously goes under contract. You have the 1031 exchanges that we're talking about. So it's really interesting, really interesting story about how title companies work with real estate agents and how we're really tuning to these, current market conditions, obviously, COVID-19 and everything that's going on. It's kind of a whole new world for us, and we're just kind of learning every day.
Absolutely.
So no questions. I guess, if it's okay, we can close this out. Wanted to thank Casey and Andrea for coming along, and the real estate team here. And did you have any final words to say for us before we send this video out to 1 million people?
Nope, I'm all set. Thanks so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you. And again, you guys, we're a local real estate team here in Denver Metro. We have a lot of people calling us wanting to move either to Denver Metro or here on the Front Range. We'd love talking to people about real estate. So anyone, shoot us a text, call us, send them our way. We'd love to help them. We love real estate referrals, and we love helping clients here. And we also love land title.